Okay, so I apologize for the wind. You're probably hearing it terrible. Okay, if you're looking at this, you already see it. It's loose. Okay, so you want to work it on both sides. Okay, it's coming off. So there it is. Okay, so we got that lifted off. Now then, you can see it just slides off the end out here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and let that. Okay, there it came off. So what we do is it's going to be basically putting a lot of grease where the splines fit. Okay, so I've filled that full of grease. I've got it slid back on there, and I have this back on now. My steering wheel is straight, just like I took it off, and this is lined back up my two marks. So should be in good shape. So I'm just going to press this back down on there. Screw my nut and bolt. Okay, this nut is a 16 millimeter. I don't know what the size would be in an American. And the bolt itself looks like an 18 was working on it. Okay, I got this tightened. It's very important that you get this nut tight. I don't know what the exact torque specifications are on it. I know it is a self-locking nut, so it does go on pretty tight, just threading it on. But I mean, you do not want this coming off going down the road. So this needs to be, make sure it's tight. Put Loctite on it. Whatever you got to do to make sure it doesn't come off. Okay, so I got the boot on that covers up the hole going into the firewall. You see the bolts there. There's two on that side, two on that side, and then there's one underneath at the bottom. Okay. Now I'm in the process of putting the this lower center piece steering column cover back together. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is put the studs, the two studs in at the bottom. You're going to want to do that first. Okay. The next thing that has to happen is you have these two cables for your hood release. Okay, now they have to go through that hole. Okay, you see me wiggling it. So you have to feed them through that hole. The easiest way that I found to do that was to put a zip tie around both of those cables. Okay, then as you're pushing the piece back up toward the steering column, you can pull on that and get those cables through that hole. And then you have this flap here. that centerpiece, or the piece of that cover that you're trying to put on here, has to go behind that. So you're gonna have to pull that back in order to get that cover on there. Okay, so I've got the piece, the center lower centerpiece bolted in. Okay, the bolt is up there. Okay, so my next thing that I have to do is attach these cables, the hood latch cables. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is the way that I've found that works for me. This might not work for everybody. It might not be the right way to do it, but it gets it done. So I take small vice grips, small pair of vice grips. Just bear with me. Let me set this camera down. Okay, so I've got a hold of the cable, and you can see you can grab it and pull it. Okay, it's pretty hard to pull, but it does pull. So you're going to want to pull it as far out as you can get it, and believe it or not, you can actually hold it with your fingers. So once you hold it with your hands, your fingers, then you release it with your vice grips, and then you come back and go up the cable and pinch it again. That way it doesn't suck itself back up in the cable housing. Okay, so I've got the cable pinched, you can see, and I've got a fair amount of cable left that I can work with in order to get it into the slots. Okay, so I've got that in. You can see I've got the cables in there on both sides. Believe it or not, it actually works really well. So anyway, I've got that in. Okay, I'm gonna proceed to the right and left panels. Okay, so I've got this. I opted to do the right hand side just because I don't want this other one in my way while I'm trying to get this one in. Okay, so once again, you have the stud down here. You want that to be on. This doesn't have a nut, doesn't have anything on it. It's just to hold that in place. Then you have a heater vent that comes. Okay, that just pushes. You just reach up and grab a hold of it and pull it through. Okay, it's super easy. Okay, you can bend this back and you can see that piece actually protrudes up under this trim piece. So you're going to have to bend that back in order to get that to go up in there. Okay, so I've got that finished up. Got the two bolts in. The vent pipe is in. So that one's done. So next I'll be doing the left-hand side. This is where you're going to put that plastic clip that I referred to earlier in the video. So it's going to go right there. Actually, there's one on either side. The one on the other side was broken from several times past, but anyway, this one is still good. So you just put it in there and press the center of it in, and you're good to go. So I've got this thing about partially in. You can tell it's a pretty tight squeeze. So you want to make sure you got the front, you know, kind of tucked up where it needs to be. Get this pedal started in the hole that controls your tilt steering, and then this squeezes right in beside this handle. Okay guys, I've got this left-hand piece installed. Get your bolt here, one over on this side. Got another heater vent on this one also. Same thing down here with the stud, if I can find it. There it is. Okay. And I got my last piece, which covers the upper steering column right below the steering wheel. It's pretty straightforward. You got these two clips. There's one on this side. There's one on the other side. You have 1, 2, 3 bolts, and then you got these rubber covers that I was telling you about earlier. You just push them back on there. There's nothing to that. One little tip I will give you is when you're putting these screws in, these 3 screws, do not tighten them. For instance, when you get the first one in, don't tighten it. Leave it loose until you get the other 2 started. Otherwise, if you tighten the first one, you could be off a little bit up here, and you'll have a very hard time getting these other 2 started. But anyway, that is going to wrap this up, I believe. Thanks for watching. Like I said, this is my first video that I've made like this. I just kind of wanted to give back to YouTube. I use YouTube a lot to learn how to do stuff. I myself have a pretty extensive background in mechanics and auto body. I've done that type of thing for 12, 13 years. Anyway, so that's just kind of how I wanted to kind of give back to the YouTube community, because it has given a lot to me. Anyways, I'll try doing some more of these kind of videos in the future. As you know, there's always something to do to a truck. So I'm going to sign off on this, and you guys have a good day.